Have you ever been labeled the neighborhood troublemaker just for wanting your pregnant wife to walk safely? What if the same people who preached community standards forged your name to dump a ton of gravel right on top of her? And what if the woman pulling the strings smiled sweetly while saying, "It's just a little landscaping correction," dear as your wife fought not to suffocate? In Evergreen Valley Estates, California, the lawns were always emerald green, the mailboxes all the same shade of beige, and the rules were everything. My wife Elena and I moved here after my last big investigation as a data forensics expert went south. I'd exposed some corporate fraud and got painted as the paranoid whistleblower who couldn't let things go. People call me difficult, unstable even, so we came for a quiet life. I was Deborah Langford, the undisputed queen of the HOA chair of the Compliance and Aesthetics Committee. She spoke in soft, honeyed tones at every meeting, always starting with, "As your neighbor, who only wants what's best." But underneath that pearl necklace was pure control freak. Elena was 32 weeks pregnant, her back wrecked from an old injury that made every step a gamble. I built her a simple redwood ramp in our backyard slope, smooth, sturdy, with handrails and just enough grade for safety. It let her sit outside with her herbal teas and feel human again. The lavender bed beside it was her little sanctuary. Those plants helped with her swelling and stress. I followed every county code, got the permits. But to Deborah, it was visual pollution and non-approved vegetation violating Section 4.2 of the covenants. The first violation letter arrived in a fancy cream envelope like it was a wedding invite. "Dear Mr." It read, "Your unauthorized structure and plantings create an aesthetic imbalance inconsistent with the harmonious character of Evergreen Valley." No mention of my wife's pregnancy, just harmony. I tried playing nice at first. Deborah smiled from the head table, pearls gleaming. "Alex, we all admire your creative efforts to help Elena. But standards exist for a reason." The room nodded like robots. I bit my tongue to escalate. "Maybe if we explain," she said one evening, rubbing her belly while sipping lavender tea on the ramp. But I saw the pattern forming. It was about power. Then came the independent inspector, Greg Harlan, a local landscaper with a reputation for being flexible with HOA clients. He showed up with his clipboard while Elena was resting on the ramp. He took one look at her, at the ramp, at the lavender, and I swear I saw guilt flash across his face. "Just checking drainage," he mumbled. Later called it a hazardous eyesore with invasive growth risking slope stability. Funny thing, the timestamp showed it was filed before he even left our property. I started digging quietly. Metadata doesn't lie. Those reports were doctored. Emails from Deborah's personal account showed her pressuring Greg. "Just make the language strong enough for emergency action. We need that eyesore gone." I saved everything. Waited. The letters got nastier. "Authorized corrective action imminent." Then the bombshell, an email confirmation with a scanned consent form bearing my signature authorizing the removal. Except I never signed it. Rivera were wrong. The metadata traced the upload straight to Deborah's home IP address. Forgery. Nation. This wasn't a rules dispute anymore. I didn't tell Elena the full extent. Feet swollen, barely sleeping. Instead, I installed hidden porch cameras. I walked the property lines, documented every bolt on that ramp. And I waited for them to make their move. I didn't have to wait long. And it dawned like they owned the place. 3 guys in unmarked trucks, tarps flapping, gravel chute already angled toward our slope. Elena had stepped out early, cushion under her, lavender tea in hand, humming softly while the sun warmed her back. She loved that ramp. It was the only place she could sit without pain shooting up her spine. I was inside, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, watching the live feed from the cameras I'd hidden under the eaves. The foreman barked orders. Active dump per HOA directive. No permit sticker on the truck. No county markings. Forged name glaring back at him. I stepped outside calm as ever, Badge from my old forensics days clipped to my belt. Not for show, for the record. Morning, gentlemen. County excavation permit. The foreman didn't even blink. We need, pal. Move your wife. This is scheduled. Deborah's voice cut through the air like a silk knife from behind the neighbor's fence. She emerged in her signature pastel blouse and oversized sunglasses, clipboard tucked under one arm like a royal scepter. Alex, dear, you're obstructing community improvement again. That ramp is a hazard. We all voted. Think of the children who might trip. Her smile was all teeth, the kind that says, I'm polite so you can't call me out. I kept my voice even, the same tone I'd used when I took down CEOs. You forged my signature on that consent form, Deborah. IP trace leads straight to your router. Greg's original report, the one before you made him change it, says 0 erosion risk. I've got the audio where you told him to make it look risky enough for Friday action. Care to explain that to the county inspector who's already en route? Her laugh tinkled like breaking glass. Oh, Alex, always with the conspiracy theories. This is just landscaping. But her fingers tightened on the clipboard until the knuckles went white. The crew hesitated, gravel chute hovering. Elena tried to stand, one hand on the rail, the other cradling her belly. Alex, it's fine. The chute tipped. Just enough to send a wave of sharp, dusty rock cascading down the slope. The tarp followed like a shroud. The load hit her legs, pinning her against the bench. Dust billowed up. Lavender crushed under the weight released a bitter scent that mixed with her cry. She didn't scream loud. She couldn't. The pressure knocked the air out of her lungs. Her fingers clawed at the gravel like she was trying to remember how to breathe. The foreman froze. We got a problem. Deborah didn't move. She shouldn't have been there. I was already running, phone recording, heart hammering, but voice steady. Stop the chute or you're all liable for reckless endangerment. The second guy killed the motor just in time, but not before Elena was half buried, dress soaked in sweat and dirt, belly heaving as she fought for oxygen. Neighbors' doors flew open. From next door was already yelling, I'm live streaming this. The whole block is watching. I pulled Elena free, arms around her, whispering her name until her eyes fluttered open. EMTs screamed up the street minutes later. Deborah just adjusted her sunglasses and walked away, muttering about drama queens ruining property values. But I saw the crack in her perfect mask, the fear that the queen might finally lose her crown. That night, Greg Harlan showed up at my door unannounced, baseball cap pulled low, envelope in hand. No clipboard this time. Voice rough. She told me it was just paperwork. Harmony. I didn't know she'd actually send a crew with your wife sitting right there. He handed me the original unedited report. Clean slope. No hazard. Lavender, non-invasive, and beneficial. Then a USB drive. Recordings of every call. Risk sound real or your contract's gone. I kept backups. Figured someone might need them someday. I didn't thank him yet. 1. He nodded, eyes on the floor. 2. If anyone ever treated her like that, his voice trailed off. The dark humor hit me then, the same woman who fined Mrs. Patel last month for off-tone roses had almost buried a pregnant woman under gravel and called it aesthetic realignment. Classic HOA, rules for thee, graves for me. Elena rested upstairs, oxygen mask still on, doctor on speed dial. I spent the night building the file, every email, every timestamp, every forged pixel. The pattern was crystal clear. Rules. She'd weaponized them, turning community harmony into a blunt instrument. And now the blade was pointed back at her. By sunrise, the county inspector was at our gate. Devin Hurst, mid-50s, clipboard worn from years of catching crooks like this. I handed him the drive, the reports, the footage. Forged consent, falsified inspection, reckless endangerment of a protected adaptive structure. My wife is 32 weeks pregnant. That gravel could He didn't need the full speech. Jaw tightened. We'll freeze all HOA actions pending review. This isn't landscaping, it's assault with paperwork. Deborah's empire was already cracking. But the real show? That came at the emergency board meeting 2 days later. And that's when the Queen finally met her gravel. The community clubhouse smelled like stale coffee and desperation. Folding chairs scraped across tile as neighbors packed in, some curious, some furious, all holding phones like shields. Deborah arrived last, pearls still perfect, smile still glued on like it was bulletproof. "Everyone, let's keep this civil," she cooed into the mic. "A few misunderstandings shouldn't divide our lovely valley." I stood at the back with Elena beside me, her hand in mine, still pale but steady. Devin Hurst set up a projector at the front table. "No ceremony." "MS," he began, voice flat. "You initiated corrective action on a county-permitted accessibility ramp based on falsified reports. The consent form was forged from your IP. We have audio where you instructed the inspector to lie about erosion risk. And the crew you sent nearly buried a pregnant resident under gravel." The room went dead silent. The kind that ripple when people realized the monster was wearing pearls the whole time. Deborah's smile twitched. "Alex has always been difficult. Remember last year when he questioned our dues? He's the agitator here." I stepped forward, calm as the day the first letter arrived. "Difficult? I was the guy who stayed quiet after you slandered me as unstable for asking why fees jumped 20% with no explanation. I learned then, watch, document, wait. You called my wife's safety ramp an eyesore. You crushed her lavender like it offended your perfect lawns. And when that wasn't enough, you forged my name to dump gravel on her while she sat there helpless." I clicked the remote. The projector lit up, side-by-side reports, original versus doctored. Clip, Deborah's voice, crystal clear. "Just make it look risky. We need that thing gone by Friday." Gasps rolled through the crowd. She pressured me. But I couldn't live with what happened to Elena. He played his own recording, more pressure, more threats. Deborah's face drained of color. The county inspector slid papers across the table. Immediate injunction. Forgery, reckless endangerment, ADA interference. Charges are being filed today. Sheriff's deputies stepped in quietly. "Keys to the HOA server room, ma'am." For the first time, Deborah had nothing polished to say. She just stared at the screen, at the footage of Elena clawing out from under the gravel, at the neighbors now whispering her name like a curse. The woman who'd spent years finding people for off-tone mulch was finally buried under her own rules. The vote came fast after that. Emergency dissolution by majority voice. Hands shot up, the same quiet folks who'd lived in fear of her next notice. The board was suspended on the spot. New rule: no action without county sign-off and 2 neighbor witnesses. Deborah's harmony empire crumbled in under an hour. 3 weeks later, the charges stuck: felony forgery, endangerment. She sold quietly and moved. People started planting whatever herbs they wanted. Kids played without worrying about visual disruption. Lisa started monthly open forums. Real talk, no queen on a throne. Elena gave birth 2 months later, healthy boy we named Luca, after the lavender that survived the crush. We brought him home to a ramp now lined with fresh plants, a small plaque bolted to the rail, built for family. Defended by truth. Everyone understood. I sit on that ramp most evenings now, Luca on my knee, Elena beside me. The gravel is long gone. Turns out the loudest community standards were just one woman's fear of losing control. And when the quiet guy finally spoke up with proof, the whole street finally breathed free. If your HOA ever tries to bury your peace under rules, document everything. Smile politely. Your own gravel. Because in the end, the real eyesore was never the ramp. It was the power that thought it could crush families and call it harmony. HOA Karens thrive on silence and fear, but one patient guy with receipts can flip the script. Never let community standards bury your family's safety, Document. Wait. Expose. Justice tastes sweetest when the queen who preached perfection ends up under her own pile of lies. Stay smart. Stay quiet until the moment explodes. Your ramp and your peace are worth it.